All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tavern Talk episode. Let's just call it 69420 because I think we stopped numbering these things like a long time ago. So today we are joined by co-host Ghazzy, the legend of Hairpox, Velna, and MrLlama, who has a special announcement sometime today when we get into it. Ain't that right, MrLlama?
That's right. Big old special one.
So thanks all for coming. And you know what? Today we're going to be talking about a few things. We have Diablo 4 Season 5 PTR just hit, like literally just hit. So not everyone's had the chance to actually play it. I played it a little bit. I can talk about that. Elden Ring's obviously the major kind of hype that everyone's playing. It sounds like, has everyone here played Elden Ring? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone in MrLlama's kind of like, but everyone's sort of playing.
Like, is it Diablo 2? You know, did you say Diablo 2?
Pretty much the same thing. Pretty much the same thing.
Elden 2 Resurrected.
There you go. There we go. I'm in on it.
You want to start with what topic you want to start with, boys? You want to talk about Elden Ring, or you want to go straight into the? Because I kind of wanted to ask MrLlama some questions. And should we start with the big, exciting feature of the day while I'm pouring the Tavern Talk drink here? Are you ready to unload your information?
Let's give Llama the floor.
Let's give Llama the
dive
floor.
right in. You want to dive right in on that?
I kind of do. Huh? I kind of do. I've been waiting to hear about this. It's been very exciting. MrLlama has been working on a project for a long time that has finally seen some air. So why don't you tell us about it, MrLlama?
All right, sure. We'll dive right in. Why not? So yeah, like basically, I mean, I've always wanted to make a game, and when Diablo 4 came out, I was very disappointed at the launch. I say disappointed. I was underwhelmed. I was fine, but you know, I mean, I think we all knew Diablo 4 at launch. It just didn't scratch a lot of our itches, right? I mean, Darth got like 8 months of D4 bad content out of it, so you know, right? Like, I mean, I think we all kind of did. Worked for a bit, yeah. So I thought, you know, I'll just make my own game and at least give it a try. And so I decided I would go down that path and start really designing and getting into all of this. I actually decided on making a turn-based game because I thought for my first game, an ARPG sounds miserably hard. And so like I'm at least gonna cut that piece out of it just to be a little bit easier. But also because I had a dream of how this combat was going to go. And so I woke up and I wrote down all of the combat. And it's this like 3-turn combat or 3 actions per turn combat with all this countering and all this stuff and all of that. So all that to be said, this past weekend, we had our first alpha launch real early.
Congratulations!
All of that.
By the
Thank
way.
you.
That's awesome, dude.
How are the servers?
The servers were messy. We had the most hilarious thing. So you remember in Diablo 4 how you like have to load every other player's stash and inventory and all that stuff?
Yeah.
The like hilarious thing. We kind of had something like that was crashing our servers.
Oh, no.
We had a forever log that was logging every single player's movement on the server for the entire history that they were on the server. And then whenever somebody new would get on the server, it would send all of that history to the new person until eventually the files just got so big that it blew everything up and crashed them. So
basically you learn from the best then.
Yeah. So learn from the best. So as soon as we figured it out, I was just like laughing. I was like, man, that's just straight D4 right there. But we've removed that. That's been fixed. And servers are more stable. There's still some stuff we have to figure out. You know, we're going through logs. First public alpha, you run into just the funniest things. Like we have an NPC in the center of town that the first thing you do is go talk to him and he gives you your items. And well, when you have like 400 people that all log on and rush over to him at the same time, they're all stacking on top of each other and on top of him. And then you can't interact with him because there wasn't priority, which we never thought about. And so now you're like only interacting with other players, trying to all interact with him. And then if you're interacting with him or a vendor and somebody interacts with you, then it would lock you in the vendor screen. I mean, again, just all the classic, like, as soon as you get a bunch of people in there, it just blows everything up. Bugs.
How many people did you get into the, like, how many people were slamming the server at any given time?
I think we had 900 people in total, roughly. I mean, I can look right now.
Quite a bit.
Which is great for, I mean, an alpha that is 994 people, 6 away from 1,000, that have popped into the alpha, and all at once, I think we had about 300 to 400, but then the servers kept crashing because all the movement data was sending, and we never could get above that because it just kept blowing it up. But yeah, again, pretty great for an early alpha with not a lot of content. There was also a lot of just really good feedback. Because, like, once you got past that stuff, the game actually was pretty smooth. It actually worked decently well. Obviously, there's still balance. Obviously, there's still, not a ton of content. There's not all these long quests and things. You just are limited to the first act and stuff. But, like, you get to run around, you get to kill things, you get to see the items and level up and see the skills, and it was everything I could want from, like, the start. We learned some good lessons. We got to fix some servers and issues, and we got to, like, a lot of people enjoyed what was there already, which is great because alphas just aren't really fun. Right? Like, the game is not built to be fun yet. And so if people can at least find some fun already in the game, that is a huge win.
When do all of us get access? Like, when are you sending out the streamer?
Yeah. The big streamer sponsors.
Exactly. When do we get our $50? You promised us at the LA
$50. Hey man, I'm promising $50. That's what I got in my budget right now for each of you. So, big money. I think like, give it to 1 to 2 more rounds, right? We'll probably have, like, another alpha round, and then, like, when we get to, like, the early beta or even the late alpha-ish, like, just when the game gets to a point where it's mildly fun, at least. I mean, again, I think it's mildly fun right now, but, like, there's 5 to 10 hours of content you guys can at least go through and enjoy, and have a basic story, go through a few of the zones, do a little bit like that. I think that would be, like, the best time, because right now, again, it's like, it's so early, it doesn't, there's just not enough, right? There's not enough content. We just have to get more content out.
So for the people that might watch this on Ghazzy's VOD later, the game's name is Llama RPG. It's currently in alpha. You can still wishlist it for the full release, I'm assuming, on Steam, or you can just get access to it now. And is it free to play, or what's the price when on full release? Do you have that information available too? And then let's roll into some PoE 2 talk since we're all there.
Yeah. So it's Llama RPG. Farm to Fable is the, like, full name title. So if you see that, that's the one. It is currently free. Just when the alpha's up, I'll probably take it down soon, but maybe someone pops in and it's still there. But you can wishlist it, all that, for free. The game will be $9.99 when it comes out. I think it's worth way more than that, but I'm trying to keep it pretty cheap. And it's not like a pay to win model. You're not going to be able to buy skins in it. There's no llama pass, none of that stuff. Like, the idea behind it is to kind of go back to, like, older monetization model where you're not being hammered for money, and not, I don't want there to be kind of that piece. So the monetization will be you buy the game, and then you play the game, and then probably, like, feature, like, donate for feature almost, right? So there'll be, like, places where you can go, or, like, one place in the game where you can go and essentially be like, hey, I want you to start working on the llama trading card game, and I'll put up, like, 5,000 or 10,000 goal, whatever it is, on that, and then you can go in and like donate to that feature, and so then when that gets reached, okay, that feature will be the next thing I work on and implement. So probably something like that, but I really am trying to avoid anything that's going to take you out of the game in a way. That's something that I feel is really annoying to me in a lot of games nowadays, is there's a constant like push to buy, somewhere.
So it's a hard no on the llama pass.
Llama Pass is a no unless there's some non-monetized, just fun, silly way we implement it, or it might be in like a joke quest or something, because games are supposed to be games and fun and silly, so they may just find some dumb way to implement it in some way like that. But yeah, sorry, you're not gonna be able to pay like whatever $30 to get some experience potions or anything. You are a llama. You are
That's
a llama.
so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's already great.
We'll leave
Okay,
a link
$30
to the game.
for a hat.
Hats are findable. You can't buy them. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I know.
all right.
I'm ruining everything for you. I know.
Yeah, we'll leave a link
Can I
for the game in the
trade?
descriptions.
Can I trade a player for a hat?
Can you trade a player?
Yeah, like if they find a hat, could I buy their hat?
Hats are the only thing that you cannot trade in the game. They're like hats are like achievements. Hats
He
are
made
like
that up on the
achievements.
spot.
Everything else is tradable
believe
in
it.
the game, but hats are achievements
it.
that cannot be traded. All right, let's move on
All
to
right.
PoE 2.
Ooh.
Let's go. Link in the description below. Let's go to PoE 2.
All right,
Darth, Ghazzy,
and I'll
take us
check my
away.
PayPal, make sure MrLlama sent in the payment for that giant 1-hour show of
Yeah.
MrLlama RPG.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'll
so
send
now,
you your $10.
Path of Exile is the one thread that sort of ties us all together, because Pox is obviously the RF god. By the way, rip to Pox. And did you see the interview?
I got a clip from someone. Yeah, they said GGG just really hates Pox, and then I watched it, and isn't it them just basically saying it's going to be different?
I think his exact words were, "We went to purposely make sure that Pox has to redo his entire goddamn website." I think those were
I heard that.
technically
I heard those
his
words.
But
That
yes, he said it was going to be
that was the
different.
quote.
They didn't
I
like
want
the
it
way
to
it
be different.
functioned or something like that.
I don't like it either. Great, fantastic.
There you go.
I think
I
it's
was
kind of
sitting
its
in a-
identity is weird. It gives spell multi, but it doesn't scale itself. It's just it's in a strange spot.
It's
I was
funny.
sitting in the winner's booth whilst I heard that, playing my necromancer. So.
Yeah, Ghazzy's the one that made out the best in PoE.
Yeah,
probably.
the specters. My God, the change. It's crazy.
Oh, they're beautiful. I was like, that is one of the coolest implementations of like summoning I've seen, is permanent specters that you can force into your like rotation. Is it gonna be too good? Maybe. Seems really strong, doesn't it?
I mean, at ExileCon last time, they announced that this Pokemon system, right? You collect them and then you can summon them. So that
Right.
was announced prior, but they kept talking about how to make minion builds more active, and I'm like sitting there in the crowd, being like, how on earth are they gonna make that more active? Like now they're super active till we get the trigger weapons, and now we take away a lot of the work to make it smoother, PoE1 related, right? But the way they did it was so good. Like, you feel like you're actually actively playing, and the minions actually looks fantastic. So I was very happy with it, clearly. But you guys, did any of you guys play the Necromancer? Just
I haven't
me?
played any PoE 2 yet. I think I'm the only person who hasn't here.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
kind of bummed that you weren't at the event, my dude. I wanted to meet
Yeah.
you in person.
I was gonna go, and then things came up, and then it is what it is.
Mm,
But you
life
were-
got in the way.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I don't know if they're
That's
doing
good.
another one, but if they're gonna do another one, you think you're gonna go if you can?
Probably, yeah.
nice. They're
I
fun,
mean,
man.
probably,
They have a blast.
definitely. Come on.
We'll go definitely.
Honestly-
We'll go definitely.
I love to hear that, because I know that they still have a couple classes left, right? The Marauder, the Druid. Well, the Druid was playable at Gamescom
Yeah,
last time. Not last time, but the previous time, right?
Was
it was.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, we
The
weren't able to
Druid-
play it, and we didn't even think about it.
No, so we had Exile Con, and then like 3 months after, they did I don't know, Games Con or PAX or something where they allowed people to play the Druid, and then we haven't been able to since then.
Yeah,
I think
maybe
so,
it was
yeah.
shit.
Yeah, because we only saw very small clips of Druid, and that was really it.
Yeah.
Playing it.
The clips look
Yeah.
cool though.
I was
Yeah,
really
the clips
hoping
were really cool.
to play it this time around, but they gave us the monk instead, and they slap. They're a slapper.
The goddamn bell.
I
Bell,
don't use the
Bell,
bell at all.
man.
I'm the only non-bell user out of all the monks. I feel I use the frozen lotus or locust. I don't know, one of them, and I don't know, the lightning spell together. And I was smashing. It was so good. Forget
got a
the
bell,
bell. The
though.
bell is old.
No,
Bell.
Bell is life, man. You just go pop the bell down, and then you and your buddy just slam the bell really fast. It
What?
was brokenly good.
The bell
If you
seemed
what
put
is it?
down that frozen lotus, it backs you up, the enemy hits it, and they freeze themselves. And you're just like, yeah.
It does pretty good
And you don't
damage
have to
too.
do anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does
Alright.
really good damage. So you put it down, it backs you up, and then it also gives you enough time to go back into a combo as well as they're hitting themselves. It's like, it feels really smooth.
What do
Forget
you
the bell.
guys think about
Bell's
the
fast.
fact that we can only have one of each support gem? Because that was the thing that caught me sort of the most off guard when we were doing the second playtest. I was like, why can I thought I was just being stupid. I'm sitting here like, why can I not? Like, I'm like hitting the button and it just gave me like a random error. It didn't say like you can only have one. It just was like error, whatever. And I was like, why the fuck can I
Yeah.
not like make another?
They were
support
limiting
gem?
to 2 links, or like how does that work
Yeah.
exactly?
So how it would
Okay.
work is if you had like, let's say you made an added lightning damage support gem, okay?
Okay.
You can have one of them, and you can put it on one skill.
Mhm.
If I have a second lightning skill and I want added lightning damage, I can't put it there. I have to choose which of the separate. You can only have one of
Yeah.
each gem. So that
Okay.
that
it was not intuitive.
It was not.
No, they was not well explained by the game.
Do you think
at
that's
the
like a
time.
core thing now, or is just for
It
the
is.
playtest?
It's on
It is.
purpose.
It
It's
is.
a core
yeah.
thing.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, because that makes sense. So they don't want you to commit to just because you have like compared to current PoE, if you're playing a fire build, they don't want you to just use all the best fire supports on X amount of
Yes.
skills. They want to create like I'll give you an example. With my current build with Righteous Fire, it's a fire build that scales spell, but RF is not scaled off spell, so I can use spell supports on Fire Trap and then stick to like Fire Multi on RF. Not that it would work really exactly like that, but I think that's what they're trying to create is allow
Yeah.
different types of
Yeah.
play styles.
You're completely
So
correct.
Yeah,
what I
that's-
like about it is like they have so many support gems in PvE1, and a large majority of them are completely discarded.
And you just
They're
use
in-
the same 5
Yeah.
over on
Yeah.
every single item.
Like-
Yeah.
That's true.
One of the minion builds I really like is a Zoomancer, where we have quite a few different minions, and they're all supposed to deal damage. And the result of that is they all use the exact same support gems.
Yeah.
There's nothing interesting happening. It's just the same support gems. There, I'm done. That's the most damage. I don't even look at the cool mechanics or combos and whatnot, which is like what PoE2 is bringing. So I know some people were voicing their concern, saying that that was bad. I like the idea that they're introducing this because it increases build diversity. Because now you might have, it doesn't work that well, but let's say you have a tornado shot build and you have something to combo that with frenzy or whatever, some debuff ability. You might want to have GMP on both, but now you have to choose, volley on one, GMP on the other, or maybe chain or fork on one and the other on the other ability. And suddenly the build will play slightly different depending on how you opt to change to adjust those quality of life or side abilities or debuffing and stuff and whatnot. And I like that approach. Gets more identity to the skills as well that way.
So we ready to use that little headhunter support that nobody touches?
Is that behead?
What
Am I
is, yeah, the head. Yeah.
Okay. I actually
Yeah.
used it for a small amount of time when I was
Really?
playing. I was playing a Bone Shatter build, but then I was like, but if I just get a better weapon, then I won't need to behead. I can just kill the mob. And then I skipped the entire stuff. Like, why hit the mob 3 times to trigger
Yeah.
behead when I could just hit
You could just
2
hit 'em.
times
Yeah.
and then just move on?
Is that what
Move
we
on.
were?
MrLlama said,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, we go back in the center of like, you just want to, look at the multiplier and number go up and just pretty much stack it.
Mhm.
No.
There are some interesting support gems that they added that I got to see too. Like one of them that has a 20% chance to keep your charge if you use it, which is just nice. Plus there's stuff on the tree for another 20%, and that's 40% right there. And it's like, can I keep all my charges by the end of this? Maybe. Maybe. So I did like that. And it's gonna be weird, but I imagine that it's going to also breed a lot of creativity in builds, right? And I like that. I'm very into that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you guys have said it. I thought the change was fantastic once I learned it wasn't a bug and wasn't just a random issue. As soon as that was figured out, I was like, this is so much nicer because, even the I don't have a ton in PoE, but the 1,000 hours I've played or whatever, it's like, man, I know there's so many times I just jam the same support gems on all the items, and
Mm.
I'm like, but then here you're sitting there and you're like, wait a second, do I want GMP on this item or on this? Like which skill do I want it on? And all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're thinking and your build completely shifts because one person runs it there, one person runs it the other way. Both have their merits. And I think they talked about that with the like lightning shot from the Ranger. You could like shoot up and have like multiple lightning strikes come down, or you could shoot and lay the ground with multiple of the holes or whatever, and then strike those, and it spreads all around. And so you're kind of deciding, do you want the multi strikes or do you want the more spread on the ground with the different poles? And they create different build styles. And so I'm very excited. I love the innovation that we've seen in these small ways that will have really big effects within the game.
I'm curious if you guys believe that Path of Exile 2 is going to accomplish their goal of being more accessible than Path of Exile 1. We saw things like that you can explain what each different mechanic does. You can just hover right over it. They made the co-op really easy to function between it. It seems like they're trying to grab a much wider demographic than Path of Exile 1 was, for instance, and they're trying to make the barrier to entry a lot lower. Do you think after the testing it, do you think they're actually accomplishing this? Do you think it's going to grab a much wider demographic? Do you think their marketing's enough? I'm kind of curious on your guys' thoughts on that. Let's start with Ghazzy, my lovely genius co-host.
Yeah. So I had a friend over today to help me rewire some stuff because I had a small fire in my house, and that's the guy I
Nice.
brought to the event. It sounds worse than it was, but my entire house blacked out. It was scary. But no, he was the guy I brought to the event, and he has only finished 2 games. Diablo 1 was it, and Half-Life that he's ever
Solid
finished.
games.
And he's not a gamer. And I brought him over because I wanted to have this complete, fresh, non-gamer play. And he was having a lot of fun. And he was having somewhat of an easy time learning. He refused to use a mace because of the warrior skills. If you required a mace, he wanted to use the axe. The marauder skills weren't in. So he was basically swinging it. We found a really good axe. He did so much damage with it. But he had a lot of fun and he understood the game. And he had troubles with the controller. I think all of us had troubles with the controller keybinds at the first, at least. But no, he was actually enjoying the game, and that really set the tone for me with how accessible the game is. Because it's very hard for us to play this game as much as we do to put ourselves in the shoes of someone that is that fresh to the game and being introduced to the world of Rayclass. Like the game is so difficult, so complex, and PoE 2 just it guides you to the point where it provides you with enough information so that the player can make a sound choice for their progression of both gearing and skill tree, so that you can't really go wrong because you're given the information you needed, even if you're not experienced with it. So I definitely think that they hit the spot with it, with the content we've seen so far, at least. What's your take, Llama?
I think both. I think they're definitely trying to go the Diablo 4 route a little, in that they're going, and I mean, but even adding the co-op and all that, they're trying to really expand and grab this big audience, which is not just the D4 route, but a lot of the more modern ARPGs now are really trying to kind of spread, get the controller support in, get all that. I think in terms of accessibility, I think back to when I played Path of Exile in college, which was the beta, And despite the terrible netcode, it was a lot of fun. And I remember it being a lot simpler, right? As opposed to if you try and jump in now, you're like, what the hell is this? Right? Like you jump in immediately and you're getting all these like shards and things that you have absolutely no clue what to do with forever. And you go through, you play hours in the game and you're like, what am I doing with these things still? I just stash them, I guess. I don't know what they even are meant for. There's a lot of that stuff, right? It's just the accumulation of Path of Exile with 4 seasons a year or whatever, just over and over and over, and everything continuing to stack has been a lot. So PoE 2 is a whole reset on all that. They've removed all those pieces, and we're back to that base where it's a lot simpler. Will it remain in that way? Will they build it up into the giant confusing beast over time? Potentially. That's my concern, is that it'll grow into that sort of complexity again. But I do think at the very least they have improved many of the small things, such as like with getting your support gems and getting your skill gems. You get the gem and then you choose what skill you want. And so you get to just pick from that level of skill or lower. The support gems, you get to choose from. It gives you like what support gems would go on each one and kind of recommendations. You can still break these recommendations if you really want and go choose whatever gem you want and do all that stuff. But by providing at least a base recommendation, I think for the average player coming in, that will be super helpful. So they'll be able to be like, oh, okay, added lightning goes on this, this skill, and they just click it and it goes there and it puts it in, and they don't have to look at the giant mess of gems that are just sitting at the vendor, and they're like, does this work with this? And what, like there's a lot of that stuff where it's taken away, and you can still access that level by opening up that menu, but the standard recommendation is built there. So I think they're doing a really good job with that. So I'm very curious to see, but I think it is going to do better, at least at the start, and then we'll see how it builds out. Ox, what you got?
So I haven't actually played PoE 2 yet, but I do have a key piece of information. I do remember listening to a podcast with Chris Wilson. I think it was a few years back, and they basically stated that the reason they're not working much on newer player, I don't know if it's necessarily like exact these words or these exact words, but like new player retention, but they explain that so many people, because they have their info, just close out of tutorial and close all tutorials, and they know that X amount of their player base does not even care to do that. So why hire extra people to try to streamline the new player, learning. So I voiced my opinion on that, explained a bunch of stuff. But since this is a blank slate, I'm sure they're going to take a very different approach this go around to try to reel in players from the beginning and at least make part of the beginning, as you were talking about with support gems and etc., make a lot more sense to people so they don't get overwhelmed right away.
Yeah.
What do you think, Val?
Well, I definitely think after playing that they're taking steps in the right direction. Like, first off, when you start off in character creation, there's actually a voice that gives you what the archetype of the character is going to be, which is really nice, right? Like, you're a ranger, you're highly focused in mobility, etc. So people already know, okay, this is what I'm going into. And then they asked for feedback about one thing that we could do to get new players in. And I don't know, it's going to be like the hardest thing for them, but I told them that they need to simplify their language. Everything in Path of Exile means what it says, but sometimes they're like, this impale hits you 1.5 meters away and it collides with terrain that does this, and you're like, excuse me, just what's happening to me? Right? Like, excuse me, what are you about to do? Is this gonna hurt? I just need to know, does this hurt? Right? Like, that's all I need to know. So if they could just find some way to tone it, because they're already doing a really good job, I felt, they implemented like stun threshold and what that means in a little bar, especially on console. If you can click into more info and it really breaks it down for you, right? So I'm hoping that if they can keep that up plus maybe not be so long-winded with everything they want to tell us, then it could be really, really good for new players. Because I gotta tell you, I went into never played on console or anything. Yeah, I've played Path of Exile. I didn't know really what I was doing with the monk, just throwing points here and there, hoping it was, and it felt good. And I can tell you right now, in Path of Exile 1, you throw points here and there in Act 1, it feels like shit. Okay.
Yeah.
It feels bad.
I'm kind of the opposite on like the long-winded thing, but I think that's like a damage from the 10 years of playing PoE1. Like I want as much info as possible, so I know exactly what it's gonna do in every single detail. I want to know how many centimeters above 1.4 meters it's gonna hit for. Like I want it all.
Jeez.
You
Yeah.
know how Impale works right now? Like when you roll your maps, like when I roll my maps, I have no idea how Impale works. I play really tanky builds, but I see Impale and I'm just like, I don't think it causes a problem, but I really don't have any idea. Like I have all these defensive layers, I know exactly how they work, and I see Impale and I'm just like, I don't know. I know it's physical and it's reflect. I know overwhelm physical means my build doesn't work, so that I'm dead. And I understand added Ellie, but I don't get Impale. So I can meet halfway on this for sure.
Agreed. The only reason I even use Impel is because POB tells me it's
says
a
number
green,
go up.
Green number up.
Green up.
Yeah.
Jesus, the worst gamers here. Green arrow uppers.
Throwing shade on the D4 player base already.
I've been called out.
Just give us green arrow up, GGG.
God, kill me.
You know, they are doing one thing I thought was pretty nice for the clarity, and because I won't read tutorials either. Like I'll freely admit, I see it, you know, I'm not like Ghazzy where I see this fucking essay. I just think that's a part of my life that I don't want to waste right now, and I just click X and I'm fucking out of there, baby. So what I liked about it is now they have, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So now they got a video there on most of the skills that show you, okay, the hammer hits him. I can understand that. Like, you know, it has that. So I'm liking the video tutorials a little bit better because then my TikTok brain can at least stay with it a little bit longer than having to read all the things.
Would it help if they had like, you know, some Maze Runner mobile game thingy footage going on in the background, like beneath the text?
While somebody reads it to you while you have Maze Runner or something happening.
That might help. I might be more inclined to be like, okay, tell me more about this while I watch whatever that is.
God.
I mean, that's how the brains work, right?
Yeah.
What was
I need
the
entertainment.
what was the best thing or the most fun thing to happen at the event? We can start with you, Val. I'm trying to hype this up so Pox can't say no for the next one.
Oh man. I can't even. Okay, I can't tell you because my event time was wild. I got food poisoning. I threw up in the hallway. It was. I missed the presentation.
You had a whole
You want me to go to these, Ghazzy?
Gosh dang it, Val. Don't listen to her.
Only me and one other person got food poisoning. So it was like
From
something
the Mexican restaurant that we were all eating at.
No, it was from the buffet.
It was
Breakfast
breakfast.
buffet.
Okay,
she had the like potatoes.
I had some chicken hash, and literally right as
it.
he started talking about the witch, I had to run out and I threw up on the carpet.
Nice.
And in my hair and everything.
Don't eat the chicken hash.
Why didn't that make the Path of Exile behind the scenes? I'm sure they had cameras everywhere.
It should have. Yeah, it absolutely should have. You know, it was a close call. It was a close call. So, you know, that was very eventful. That was quite the event. Yeah. But overall, like gameplay wise, I don't know. You know what? I'll tell you the number one thing. I got it. I figured it out. It's the adding flash charges to white mobs has made my experience so much better.
Improved a lot.
No more flask finder builds or well finder builds.
Yeah, well, just trying to find the time, like when can I port back? I need this flask, right? Like, yeah, adding that one change has made the experience like so much smoother. I can't tell you, like I made Act 2, so that was also very exciting. But yeah, there. What about you, Llama?
I would say the co-op was my favorite part. I sat down and played with Canon, and we just had a great time. Like the co-op was just really nice. I thought it was built extremely well. I was very impressed with all the menuing and how I could still do my stuff while he was going around and killing things. And uh, I just, it seemed like a feature that they kind of threw in, but then it worked extremely well. Like, I don't know, maybe it's not, they just threw it in, but it felt like they did a really good job of understanding what makes co-op solid. And I just love that. Like I miss co-op, man. Those were like the best days, us boomers growing up or whatever we are. And just like sitting there playing co-op with your bud. And
Yeah.
like, as much as I like hate like Diablo 3 and stuff, I actually enjoy Diablo 3 co-op on a console. I think it fits
Yeah.
really well in that regard. I hate it as like a PC game to like grind on and stuff, but I think console couch co-op, totally different experience. And if you can just have a nice game where you guys are just running around blowing stuff up and laughing, and it's just really great. So we just had a ton of fun, playing like that. They had some, nifty little like transfer items back and forth between you and your partner features, and just stuff to make the experience a little better. So I think they're doing a really great job with that, and I hope it succeeds well in that regard. And a lot of people do pick it up co-op. I mean, I know a lot of people don't play co-op as much, but maybe this will be a great way people can get their partners into the game as well. Whereas, right now, if I tried to get my partner into Path of Exile, she'd be like, I'm good,
Yeah.
thanks. Like,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Snooze.
So do we need to hear Ghazzy's because he's going to say it's the minions, right? We
The
I was
minions,
thinking
the
about the
specters.
event. I was gonna try to get Puck hyped
okay.
up about going.
All
We had
right,
a
Ghazzy,
lot
give
of
us-
drinks, good food.
We did.
I
Mhm.
love meeting up with other streamers. I mean, I got to meet DM again, by the way. Like, that's
Yeah.
very rare that
Mhm.
we get to meet each other because we're all like introvert, or maybe not always, but we're always like locked into our own basements, just sitting there.
Also
every day.
halfway across the world,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That too.
So we never
It's
see
tough.
each other. So it's really
Yeah.
fun actually. So I really really appreciate that. We've ExileCon a couple of times and doing this a few times now. So it's really nice. What's your take, Mr. DM?
Well, you kind of stole mine. Normally, I go to these things because it's meeting people. Like, I would 100% not go if we were like locked in isolation and had to just like play test
Oh,
game
yeah.
recording. Like, there's no
Yeah.
shot. Like, I'm going for the free ride, the eat the Mexican food, drink the booze, talk some shit, and meet people. Like, I mean, without that, I'm 100% not going. But that aside, and I got to meet my buddy Jay Giggs, who I've known since Raid Shadow Legends mobile game days. I mean, I'm talking, we came up from the mud together. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I've known him 5 years, and he flew from Australia to be my co-op partner because I asked him, like, will you fly my boy up? And they said yes. So I was like, awesome. But outside of that, honestly, it was getting to meet, I always call him Jonathan Roberts, but it's Rogers, actually meeting him in person and talking to him, because we had a chance where we got like a 20-minute separate block of like interviews, and mine was just before his like lunch break or whatever, so he was like just chilling. I didn't record either way. I know some people record theirs. I just wanted to talk to the man. But it gave me kind of a lot more faith in like the development, to be honest, because you talk to the guy over the podcast and you see the cuts and all that, but like you never really get a read of the guys, at least not on the online. I can't really ever get a read of people and I meet him in person. And the meeting him, and like he just blew through his lunch to just chat with me. I just kind of talked some shit about games and stuff. And after getting a chance to meet him, I was like, you know what, this game's gonna be fucking awesome. Like that's how I felt about it after getting a chance to chat to him, because it's like he's super passionate about the game. And you would ask him about something, and he immediately was like, "Wow, I did it because I had this, and here's like 13 examples as to why like it didn't work in these other games and stuff." And it's like, oh shit, like okay, this guy ain't a front. Like he knows 100% of everything when you ask him any questions. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck yeah. Like, I believe in this dude. I think he's actually going to be making us a banger of a game. So for me, the highlight of the trip was getting to meet the man and being able to feel a lot better about the production side of things. So I'm all in PoE 2 hype, baby.
My favorite thing with Jonathan is when you ask him a question he's excited about, and he just starts like speaking faster
goes.
and faster, and just goes, and
Yeah, that's where
he's just
John Jam.
running and pumping and all that, and you're like, feed it to me, let's go, just keep going. It's amazing, and that's
He's
like you say,
great.
that's what you love to hear from devs, is someone who is passionate about it and actually and thinks of all the different games they've played and where it worked and where they got the idea and why they're changing it. And yeah, he fits all that. He's great.
So, did you guys end up asking him about Endgame?
Yeah.
He told me that they're thinking about making portals like a one-time only. Like you die and that's
Yeah.
it. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but kind of love it and I kind of hate. I'm there's an extreme part of me that's like, yeah, and there's an extreme part of like, oh god. So
I have a take on that, which is like, okay, so if they make the beginning of the game accessible enough to new players, right, which is what they seem to be doing, then the initial learning experience of those players will carry them through to falling in love with the game enough that by the time they get to the end game to experience this, you're not just blasting new players with you die, you fucking suck, get good. Like they don't immediately go to that Elden Ring, which I guess would be the next conversation. You like that segue there of style of gameplay. It's I think because they're making it more accessible to people and they're teaching you the mechanics along the way, they can probably make the end game a little bit more brutal, I would think. But that's just my initial thought.
And they also just did make the game more brutal anyways.
True.
Like the game is just harder. It's just a harder game. And it definitely was easier this time around because like some, they changed some things and gave a little bit of buffs in some ways with like I forget. They said they didn't buff a lot, but they made a few changes that like helped improve a lot. But the game still is very hard. Like you still will walk out and you're in like the second or third area and then just like a champion pack jumps on you and you just explode and you're like, wait, what? Like, how did I die? So there's still plenty of death and all that. And I think that's something I like and something that they're planning to just continue through with Path of Exile 2 all the way, which is the game is still going to be hard and we're going to just kind of add in these extra harder layers to it and hopefully capture you enough along the way that you fall in love with the game and you're fine with trying over and over again, right? Just like Elden Ring.
Yeah, just like Elden Ring. I mean, they're focusing all the priority right now is what Jonathan told me when it comes to the game for the early stage, the campaign. They want to make that as good as possible. So what GDG has done really well from the very start is to have a very centered single painting that they're, doing Bob Ross action on little happy trees and whatnot. And that's the image they want to go for. And then they take progressional steps in the development, it's increment steps towards that picture till they hit it, and then they paint up a new one. Here's the new one, new goal we're going to go for, and then they take the steps towards that, right? And I don't think that they have clearly they don't have a set picture for how the end game is going to look yet. It's still in discussions and the theory crafting stage, if you will, as they're fleshing out the early stage of the game. And that's something that's really good, which seems to be lacking in other games. When it comes to the whole painted picture, and maybe the problem could be that you have too many pictures that different groups or different developer teams, if you will, are striving towards, and the game just gets really spread out thin, if you will. And I feel like GGG has done a very good job in maintaining that focus, which is why I think it all just works very well together. So I'm very excited for it. But the one map, the one portal end game. I mean, I think that for us that played Elden Ring now, it's something we're getting used to. Like we're okay with it now, But before that, I probably would have been more anti the idea of a portal. That's kind of where I'm at.
I'm definitely in between on it. On one side, I like the idea because I don't like 6 portal meta in current PoE. I like 6 portal meta when you're like learning progression, doing a boss fight, doing your first invitation. It's okay that you make mistakes because when it's over, you lost something. I don't like it when it allows you to trivialize content and just sacrifice everything, memorize a move set, and then get rewarded for it. I get that's like a thing in the game, and there's totally nothing wrong with it. It's just a personal thing I don't like. On the flip side, I don't want to go into PoE 2, summon an epic boss, walk in, he has like a cinematic, and then I get one shot, and I'm like, well, okay, time to go farm, you know. So that's it, definitely both ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll see how brutal it gets there at the end.
Speaking of one-shots, it's probably a great segue. So everyone here has sort of been playing Elden Ring recently, except MrLlama, you've been focusing on your RPG release. So I don't think you played the DLC, and I know Pox has just finished like the normal games on the Millennia. You haven't played the DLC either, but we've all been kind of dipping our toe into the Elden Ring arena, or at least have at some point here. For the people that have been playing, let's start with Ghazzy, because you went all the way through. I don't think you're on the last boss yet, but you're in the DLC. And you played all the way through. What was your experience like playing through Elden Ring for the first time?
So I've never touched a Souls-like game. My opinion of it has been very simple. When you look at it, it's like just learn the boss's abilities and then dodge accordingly. That seemed like piss easy to me, and people dying to it were just noobs. And I spent 2 years in that mindset. And now that I'm playing it, I'm like, the delayed attacks is pissing me off so much.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I bring in the store, and I'm like, no.
You roll, and then you're like, no, wait.
Yeah.
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
God.
I'm rolling. I'm out of stamina. Now the attack's coming. What the hell, man? It's been very fun though. I actually have the numbers up. I finished the original game with apparently some question called Rani for the hats in 447 deaths. And I'm on the DLC with so far 323 deaths there. Millennia only took me 54. It was one of the easier fights once you once you learn it. But Mesmer in the DLC is a shit show and a half. Like the DLC fights, most of them are way harder than Millennia in my opinion. Way harder. But it's been very fun. Then again, more than half of my deaths are from gravity. So
Yeah.
But I've been having a lot of fun. One shots, yeah. But yeah, it's just about learning it. Once you get into the game, it's hard to not like it. But I think the best part with it is like every game nowadays seems to be forcing in or pushing for this whole open world experience. And it's just backdrop after backdrop after backdrop. In Elden Ring, you look at something. I think you talked about that in a video, DM, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a world, not a
Yeah.
backdrop. Yeah.
You can go there,
Mhm.
and it's like just
Yeah.
exploring. I don't know,
Yeah.
like I've cleared so many areas, and like chat told me, "Oh, you're missing like 50 more caves." I'm like, what? Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a very, very fun experience, and for my first Souls-like game, it's been a wake-up call for the game actually being hard, but a very, very fun so far. Very fun. What's your take so far, Evelina, on the game?
Well, I am a longtime Soulsborne enjoyer. I have the only ones I haven't played are the ones for PlayStation, which I couldn't. So no Bloodborne, no Demon Souls for me. So Elden Ring has been. The map reminds me of DS1, the DLC at least. The map reminds me of Dark Souls 1. Some of the enemies with their delayed attacks reminds me of Dark Souls 2, same with the jails. There are enemies in there that are from Dark Souls 3. There's so much enjoyable little tidbits that you can get from the world, from the enemies, from the weapons. It's been so good, but I will say this. For the first time in my entire streaming career, I rage quit yesterday.
Wow.
For the first, I never rage ever, but I finally I spent 4 hours on Mesmer. I broke down, finally used my mimic after that, because if you use a mimic, you're a pussy, obviously, so you can't use a mimic or else everybody knows it. Right? So I finally broke down, used my mimic, killed him in like 2, and then there's some asshole guy that's like right in front of the area. But if you sit down at the fire, he disappears. And after he disappeared, I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't give a shit. I'm over this game, over everything. I'm gonna go back today, and it's gonna feel great. But I lost it yesterday. I actually, like, you know what? It's because chat voted for me to use the mimic, so I did, and then they heckled me. And then I was like, fuck you guys,
Classic.
fuck all this. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, it was over. The rage was my rage was untethered.
If it makes you feel any better, I got so angry with that fight specifically for one reason.
Mhm.
I could not see his abilities, so I couldn't learn to dodge. And it pissed me off so much, I started using the mimic, and he still killed me. And then eventually I got it.
Yeah. No, so the first, like, I walked in yesterday, my first 5 attempts, I went in without anything, and I was like, this is going good. I got him to phase 2. You know what? I'm gonna bring along the NPC summon that's in the room.
Yep.
4 hours later, that was not worth it. That was not worth it in any way, shape, or form. I would have got it within an hour if I just kept doing the same shit I was doing, you know?
Yeah. Did you
Oh,
ever
yeah.
meet Pumbaa?
No?
Pumbaa on
Who?
steroids. Get back to me once you fought that shitter. Let
Wait,
me
the
know.
golden hippo?
No, that's
No,
not Pumbaa.
do you
That's a
mean the
hippo.
guy? Do you mean the guy who's on the board from DS1? Like there's a rider
I
on
don't
top,
play
and you
I
get
never
a
played this one.
remembrance.
I
You get a
don't know.
remembrance from him.
It's like after the I don't want to spoil too much. After a keep, there's on the top left corner is an exit. There's Pumbaa on steroids, and Timon is riding him, and they're mad.
Yeah, no, I killed them. They give you a remembrance. I was there it wasn't that bad. And honestly, my Relana, is that her name? Anyways, that kill only took me like 10, 11 tries, but Mesmer, like 4, 5 years, it was bad. It was
Melania was really fun, but Mesmer.
yeah.
Hi, my name's Box. I also raged today. First
Yeah?
time in a long time, very long time.
Yeah.
I was
Hi,
fighting.
Pogs.
Welcome.
I was fighting Millennia, and I've never struggled in a boss so much before. I'm really stubborn when I play this game, so I prevented any form of backseating. So I'm on Millennia with only +5 charges on my flask, like +5 on it.
Oh, Jesus
And I refuse to
Christ.
go do anything. I did not get a heavy whetstone, and I'm playing a big bonk build until Millennia. So I've been basically default auto attacking the whole way through. I have very few weapon ashes. Yeah, there we go. That do anything. Didn't research anything. So just going with the full experience. Most things I've been able to like brute force very well. Millennia, not the case. No, I ended with about 150 total deaths when I finished the final boss. Millennia just alone is 81, and I almost rage quit today. I took a step away, came back, and then I just did it until the podcast. Still not dead, so gotta wake up tomorrow and kill her.
Nice. You
Yeah,
got
I'm not
her.
doing any summons and no consumables because I'm just
Nope.
lazy. So just you know,
True.
I know the fight. I just
Mhm.
the delayed attacks. It's just so
brutal,
tricky
man.
to like maneuver my way around. And then when she does that fucking waterfall, I think people call. I don't know what people call it. The like,
Waterfowl,
yeah, that
Yeah.
I blame my chat for 20 of my deaths because they say you can iframe the whole thing. And then after I tried iframing it, they say you can't iframe it in your current role. You have to get past one part. And then I finally learned, I didn't know this, that two-handers can block. So I just now realized I could just block. So, I mean, she heals a lot, but now I can just block the first part and then dodge roll the other two. And then she only, does a little bit of damage to me. So, yep. But I mean, it's been fun, honestly, intentionally like self-sabotaging, not looking up anything. This actually makes me want, I don't really want to play the DLC content because the further I've gotten in the game, the more frustrated I've gotten. But I do want to experience it again with a new set of something else. So for me, not playing any Souls games, I'd say that's already a win. Being able to re-experience a game is something I don't feel I can get often this day and age.
That's
True.
true. So true.
Yeah.
Sounds like you
And
kind
Llama, you
of...
never touched.
Go on, Ghazzy.
I was going to ask if Llama ever touched any of it, or you never got the Elden Ring at all.
I did a few hours. I did like the first boss guy that I don't even remember. I mean, this was a little bit
You have
ago
a horse
when
and
it
a
first
giant
came out.
lance.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, it was the horse giant landscape,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe. Wait, no, that was the guy out in the field, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
first guy.
No,
You're like
he
5
smoked
seconds
me.
into the game.
Yeah, no,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
no, 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 he smoked me. No, I was like,
Yeah.
forget that guy. I went on to the one where you could get the summon dude if you wanted. You walk in and then it's on like just like a
Rotted
narrow
on.
path that you
Yeah.
can that you can fall off of. You can just
Yep.
straight up.
Oh.
He just like knocks you off half the time.
Mhm.
Kept doing that. So I went and I beat him and then did a little extra stuff. I mean, it was fun. Like I say, I it's one of those like I need to just go back and play through it because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy the games. I think they do a great job with them. And yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see, if I get to rage quit point. I've only rage quit once in my entire streaming career, I think, and it was playing Dota 2.
That would do it.
I streamed just like the tiniest bit of it, and I just got in a game with people just like arguing after like another bad game and flaming and
Yeah.
sabotaging and running down middle, and I just got so mad. I was like, I'm done. Like
That'd be a good
Stream's-
discussion.
Stream's over.
What makes you rage more, Souls-like games or MOBAs? I feel like
People make me rage more
People-
than anything else. People throwing games and being
that's
just
true.
poor sports. That's so much worse than anything.
There's nothing you can do
throw
about
at me
that.
with.
You can't just
Yeah.
get
Exactly.
good. Like, there's
Yeah.
literally nothing
You
can do
can't
about
get
it.
good
Yeah.
at this person's awful personality or whatever. Like,
So before I started streaming, I played for a team called GPG in Dota 2, in like an amateur league. So I played.
Nice.
It's like me and I think Karn from the PoE streamers that played Dota professionally, if you will, or MOBA. I'm not sure if there's any league players there. So like for me, when it comes to MOBA, it's just like I get to the point where now I'm mad, but the problem is it's projection mad. So you start like this is because of that problem or that person, but you don't see your own mistakes. And if you just focus on yourself and do the game properly, you can still turn things around, but you need to do it well. But as soon as you get mad, that stops. That gets thrown out the window. It's the carry's fault. I saw him miss the last hit on the range creep. I just sacrificed 20% HP for him to get it. What are you doing? So, but no, Dark Souls games for me at least are way more rage-inducing than MOBAs. But I guess it depends on the experience you have with the game. If you're not a MOBA gamer originally, then MOBAs will.
See, I got
they
lucky.
will blacken your heart.
I got lucky because I played the glory days of MOBAs. So it was before League of Legends was popular, Han was rising, and people didn't know about wards yet. I played Warcraft 3 Dota for 5 years. I play Warcraft 3 like Llama plays D2, basically. So I play all the custom games on there like crazy 24/7. And then when I finally, I took a break and I went to like League of Legends and stuff.
Third party.
Yeah, exactly. But and everyone's like, the whole map is warded 24/7. I'm just like, wow, it's not fun anymore. Like, what is this? Everything has to be warded. My God. So, got lucky.
True. Those were the
For
good
me,
days.
in Dark Souls, it's always my fault. So I can't get mad because I'm the failure. I'm the failure. It's me who's made. There's very rarely a time where it's a bug or it's a combo that was impossible to get out of. Like most of the time, it's just your own failing. But what if I told you I haven't really played any League or any of that? So I don't know.
You're smart.
I just
stay
get
away.
annoyed with
Yeah,
people.
you're good.
Period.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Just
There's
stay
nothing
away.
to feel sorry about.
Well, I'll say, my experience as an MMO player, I hate people, so I get it. I feel you.
Then stay away, my child. Stay
Yeah.
Taylor
away.
doesn't heal the tank, same thing.
Yep. No, I am the healer, so I have to deal with the shit-ass DPS just going in, taking damage where they shouldn't, and not using their stupid abilities. Yeah.
DPS not CCing, same thing. No problem.
Yeah.
There's a clip of Asmongold saying Ghazzy sucks big dick. And he's
Oh.
Nice.
it's a sound alert to my stream. He was watching the highlight clips of hardcore rips in World of Warcraft. There's this rogue named Ghazzy, my name with a different spelling, who didn't kick the mana burn, and half the group just wipes.
Oh,
Well, that got me
F
thinking
that
of the
rogue.
DPS not using their abilities.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man, good times. On another note, when it comes back to the ARPGs, there's two things happening. One right now, which is the for PTR for season 5, and then the other one is 9th of July is the release of 1.1 Last Epoch, who had an announcement earlier today, right? I believe it was. Yes.
Yeah, they just launched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's start with Last Epoch before we occupy the rest of this with D4, I guess. Um, DM, you watched the announcement, you read it.
The
What's your
trailer,
take
I
so
poked
far?
through it. It looks pretty
Yeah.
fun. I mean, the pinnacle boss is the thing I care the most about. I think another cool mechanic of like another crafting thing, cool, something to do. The Nemesis is sort of like the first sort of league mechanic, is sort of what it looks like. It's their first iteration of like a mapping league mechanic, which in my opinion, Last Epoch needs pretty badly because I got bored of Last Epoch. It seemed like faster than most people. I did like, I think it was maybe 2 weeks of the launch, and then I rotated out of the category like a lot sooner than most people sat in there for a while. But I was just like, you know what? The game's cool, but like I'm not going to farm corruption. Like I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's particularly fun gameplay, and if I'm not having fun, I'm just not going to play it. I don't care if I need to stream it. Like I'm just not going to play something I legitimately don't enjoy, which is why I completely skipped season 3 of Diablo 4. So, I just mostly care about if the pinnacle boss is well designed and feels impactful. There's a little bit of a lack in boss fights in Last Epoch for me to be memorable. Like the most arguable we could say for memory or memorable boss fight is maybe the giant crab dude. You know, he like smacks down with his claws, right? And even then, I don't remember.
Lagon
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
laser. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
Lagon.
you know, maybe he's the most memorable. But there's not really like super epic music. There's not really like voice lines that, you're not prepared or whatever. Like there's not really like super memorable voice lines. So the boss fights are kind of forgettable for me. It's like run around in a circle, dodge laser, etc. So for me, I'm mostly looking at, is this pinnacle boss fight feel like, oh shit, no, that's a boss fight? Because I think that that's kind of, for me, what's missing about Last Epoch is something that kind of exciting to do at the end. And then if the league mechanic is enjoyable, I didn't think the league mechanic looked like something that I was like super, super excited about. Kind of cool, new way to empower. Probably a good league mechanic. Looks like a crafting related mechanic. So be it. But I'm mostly focused on the boss fight. What was your take?
I love it. I really do. They needed to get more replayable in-game content. So you have these eyes or whatever it is that you get from the timeline in-game bosses that will give you access to these uber in-game bosses, if you will, the pinnacle bosses. And you don't need to collect specific ones or a bunch of them. You get one no matter which timeline you are. So whatever you're farming for items in the timeline and with the corruption farming, you're guaranteed on the first one, and then any kills after that, you'll have a chance of dropping it. And that gives you access. So the way they've done it is that you can get 10 of them since there's 10 timelines, giving you 10 chances at fighting these pinnacle bosses, which gives you a lot of sets to learn the abilities, see if you need to improve your build, and learn the fights within 10 tries. And if you don't beat it in 10 tries, then you're still able to, farm another one. So I think they have a really cool set in that sense, plus the very first actual cycle league season mechanic, right? With the Nemesis, which looks really cool. And they're also introducing a third faction system, which is helping the whole tedious process of the corruption pushing. So the more you farm up with that, which you can add on top of the either Merchant Guild or Circle of Fortune, right? So you're able to engage with that in a way that makes the corruption farming more engaging together with this league mechanics. I'm actually very excited for the longevity of this cycle compared to last one, for sure. Have you checked it out, Llama, so far?
I have not seen the newest update piece there, but I do think that was also kind of a thought I had. Was I thought there needed to be more, just like something for the end game there, just more there. I mean, the game, the game's newer, and so it's kind of building it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't looked at any of that update. I just saw it on my Discord, like that they launched, but that was it.
No. That's fair. What about you, folks?
I didn't look at this update recently. I do usually follow Epoch pretty well. For me, I think it's kind of like a weird situation. I really like the foundation of the game, which I can say about a lot of things. I think they do a lot of things correctly. The weird part for me though is I almost feel like it's a little off tangent. The leveling is too quick. So like you start and you start grinding for your class, and that's good. You know, you get to play with your abilities, and then usually you get your class, and then you get like some big powerhouse skill. And then like 30 levels go by and you're at monoliths. And I definitely want more endgame for sure, because I want a reason to farm monoliths. I don't like the idea of, and I'm going to use Diablo 3 here as an example, infinite scaling greater rifts. That's kind of what monolith corruption is. That really just burns me off immediately. I like the shades that you fight in between. I think that's really fun. It's a nice kind of reset. I like the way they're doing it. I like pretty much everywhere the game is going. It's just still missing some oomph kind of for me. So I'm hoping that this, it picks up soon. As Llama said, it is newly released. They've been in development for a while, but newly released. So I'm hoping this starts to add towards that.
How about you, Valina?
So I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't until maybe the last patch that I had another good look at last Epoch. And I'm also gonna be honest, I don't know what they're doing to update it right now. I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but I do know that I liked what I played last time that I played it. When I first played it, they didn't have any of the Circle of Fortune or any of that. There was none of that, so I wasn't in. But I agree that corruption doesn't feel like it's not a good enough end game. But I did find myself really pursuing the gear for each of my characters and pushing harder towards that, and that becoming my goal instead of finding this pinnacle boss, etc., which I thought, that kept me in the game longer than I thought it would. And considering there's no big end game yet, that was pretty good. So I look forward to what they're gonna do next, because I always say, like, I'm not an ARPG Andy. Path of Exile is just like I'm hooked. I'm addicted. It's what it is, right? So when other people show off ARPGs, I'm like, I don't know. But no, last Epoch it's last Epoch. It's really good. It's actually really good. Yeah,
they do a lot of
it's
things
way
right
better
now.
than I gave it credit.
And you, DM? Any thoughts?
Well, like I mentioned, the pinnacle boss is kind of like that's mostly what I'm focused on for it. I would just reiterate my point about, like, during the launch of it, I thought it was all right, but like I got bored at the end of it. So if the end of it is more enjoyable, then I'll enjoy it more. I liked it until I got to monoliths, and then monoliths basically lost me. I was just like, I'm not going to continue to do this. It just wasn't enjoyable for me. But up until then, I thought it was quite good. I also will do a shout out for its build diversity is kind of cool. Like the ability to be able to respec your characters. I was coming off of the back of playing a lot of PoE. So build diversity is a thing, but not within the same character in PoE. So because of that, I could just have one paladin and, like, I'm going to try this, and then easily respec, and I'll try this. And I did like that about last Epoch. It was pretty accessible. So that gave me a little bit more time in the game than otherwise I would have played. I think if you couldn't respec or anything like that, the game would have been over pretty quickly for me.
That's fair. It's like you mentioned earlier as well. I think that in general, the goal with this release, and my thoughts around that, or the information that we've gotten, is to tackle the end-game replayability and specifically the longevity of it. So that's kind of like my summarized thoughts around, similar to what you were talking again about DM and that. Moving on from last Epoch, however, launched 9th of July, by the way. Today, we had a release for Diablo 4 PTR for Season 5. Now, excluding the little house fire I had, I only had a couple of hours of it to play. But I'm assuming you all have been touching it today. Is that yes or no for anyone?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Okay. No.
Nope.
I haven't
you,
played
DM.
Diablo 4 since it came out.
Oh,
That
really?
was last semester.
Wow.
When did you lose the? So when you were playing the game, when were you like, "Yep, that's the last time I'm logging in for a while"? Like, when did that wall hit?
I was level 56. I was done with the game, and I said, "This is it. Helltides? No." And I just and Helltides and Tree? No. And not only that, I didn't really. I don't know. The world doesn't feel good. Like that's the only way I can describe it. Is the world doesn't feel
It doesn't feel good.
engaging, or there's something. It's just, it feels kind of lifeless So it feels like there's no point to doing these endless hell tides or whatever to that effect. So I haven't played. To be fair though, it came out. I had a car accident. I was heavily concussed, so I wasn't giving anything the best review at the time. But I just haven't went back.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. It was crazy. I feel like the season 4 was the best they've ever had. Like it feels like it feels like every season the comment comes up with this is how the game should have been on launch. You know?
Except for 3, right?
Except for 3, yeah.
Yeah, 3 and
Not
1
that
were
one.
kind of mid. 2 with 2
Yeah.
people was well received.
Whoever's working on the 2 and 4, 6, the even numbers, they've got they're better right with it.
I have a very different take, I think, on Diablo 4, and it's definitely more of maybe a controversial opinion.
Ooh, hit us.
Well, here it
So I
comes.
tried playing this latest season for about 15 minutes, and I uninstalled. Now, before I continue anything, I know the whole point of the season was to like redo like affixes, mainly scale towards like mid and late game, so I didn't get into the juice of the season. It's more of a problem with like what games do nowadays and kind of like Blizzard as well. I hate when, and this is where it gets weird. I hate when the beginning of the game is just, I don't care, number go up, get to end game. I want there to be like an impactful in between. It's very important. And a lot of people compare this to PoE for me because they're like, well, if you just make a second character and you wear a tabula rasa and all this leveling gear, I'm like, yeah, but I don't. I genuinely enjoy playing a character, even if it's the same thing, and re-experiencing new stuff or the stuff again, only to make finer tune and adjustments to my build. But it just felt like in D4, the game started, I go to Helltides, I smash Pulverize, I'm level 50. And I'm like, but what about the in-between? So I just couldn't make it. So I'm not hating on the game necessarily, just more of like the way they speed up the leveling per se in the early game.
Hey man,
I
you're
kind of
speaking my
agree with that.
language.
Yeah. No, I
That's-
definitely agree with that a lot. It's like the whole approach that I feel like they've been doing is speeding up the process to get to 100. And ARPGs for me has always been, max level is an aspirational goal, right? PoE takes forever from 92 to 95, and after 95, it's like, wow, okay. And then Diablo 2, the Llama well versed in that. It's a lot of grind to get to that level, and then, that's the same thing in many other games. Whilst in Diablo, it's like 15 minutes. That's level 100. Fully geared out. That's another 7.5 minutes, and then I get a fine tune it. That's another 6 minutes to do that. Now you can play the game. It just I like. That's something I really like with grinding gear games, where they have ARPGs are following checklists for power scaling. No matter how they want to present it, is it numbers or is it item level or whatever you want to call it, to increase your powers to defeat the next obstacle, next challenge, and rinse repeat this. What I like is being essentially distracted from the fact that we are, engaging with the literal definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again. We're being distracted from that with different mechanics and nice little covers. We don't really see that this is actually crazy. This is stupid, but we're enjoying it because we're distracted from that very fact. And I feel like Diablo is not very good at that. Not good at distracting us. So it ends up with it just being a checklist. All right, let's get to 100. Good. Let's get my glyphs up. Good. Let's get the gear. Good. All right, I need some better rolls on the legendary aspect. Good. Now I need a unique. Let's do that. That's my problem with Diablo 4 generally nowadays, at least. So I was cutting you off, Lama. What were you saying?
Oh, sorry. I thought I muted, but I unmuted. I had to type really fast, so I thought I was muting myself, and that's my bad. Yeah, my bad there. No, so yeah, I mean, this is. I think you said it really well with kind of the distraction from the word insanity, the literal definition of it, right? I've beaten Diablo 2 tens of thousands of times, probably at this point. And why? Because the journey of playing through the game is fantastic. And go back and play through Diablo 1. The journey of playing through Diablo 1, getting to experience playing through it again is fantastic. And I feel like a lot of older games, that journey is more important and more valuable and more fun and simple. And a lot of the newer, the more modern RPGs, as I set them as, define them, the experience generally is coming after that, right? It's
I think an easy way to summarize this is, say Diablo 5 comes out right now and DM makes a video on it. The number one most upvoted comment is, how is endgame? And there's nothing wrong with that comment. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with it. But I do genuinely feel like a beginning journey is also important to be able to reach that endgame, right? Like, I've played too many games where I'm just hoping endgame is good. Hoping endgame my class is good, or whatever happens endgame. But I also want the journey to be good. I remember, like, a lot of these games, I have so many like Super Nintendo games and Sega Genesis games, and so many of them, and obviously when I was a kid, very different expectation, but you just boot the game up, you play it, and that's it. There is no extra content. That's it. You bought the game, you play through it, and you're happy with it. So I think a lot of the time, for sure, they skimp out a lot on the beginning part and really hyper focus endgame, which is a lot of the time a gamble if people even like it or not.
Yeah, I will say this though, with like season 4, like as I mentioned earlier, I think season 4 was the best they've ever had so far. My hopes as a gamer that, like, one of the blasters, if you will, like power through as much as I can, and I like min-maxing all that jazz. I'm not a casual gamer, and I don't think any of us are. I found myself wanting 1.5, maybe 2 weeks of enjoyment from the game. If I get that, I'm happy with D4. And I can say that even though I'm criticizing certain aspect of it, I was happy with season 4. I got 2 weeks of actual genuine enjoyment, and I had a lot of fun. My problem was after 2 weeks, that enjoyment wasn't declining. It took a free fall. That was my only problem with it. And I hope that's going to be adjusted with season 5. But like, I will say that I got personal enjoyment out of season 4, and I had a lot of fun with those 2 weeks. But I definitely understand the problem with it. But with the early game, I do think that it kind of depends on which type of player base they're catering to, right? I mean, they want to cater to a more casual player base. They want to get to the end game aspirational content, so their process or their solution is to speed up that process getting there.
Yep.
If we agree
You're not
to
wrong
it
at
or
all.
not, I don't know. I don't like it, but it seems to resonate very well with the casual player base, and if that's the game, then that's the game.
What
I
I've been
guess it's good that we
hearing,
have something different.
so what I'm hearing from the people that didn't like playing Diablo 4 and stopped playing it was that the early game felt boring to you, and that what you wanted was a better progression from the start of the game until you get to the end of the game. We probably all agreed from the start that the end of the game wasn't there either. But for the points that I'm mostly hearing reiterated here is that you guys wanted the beginning of the game to feel better. My philosophy, or my guess on their philosophy of what they're doing, is they've heard this feedback, I believe, a number of times. So what they've thought is, we cannot redo the entirety of the level 1 to 100. The game is already made. That ship has sailed. So what we can do is add things on afterwards. So what we have to do is stop players like Pox and MrLlama from quitting the game and losing their audience retention. So let's shrink down that time. So the amount of time that you're stuck there experiencing, like, I really like this, is so short that maybe you choose to blast through it anyway, and then they start adding shit into the end to maybe hook you back into the game. I think that's what they started doing, because basically
Then they just added greater rifts.
Yeah, I mean, they did that. The pit is, and a lot of people, myself included, didn't choose to push the pits a whole bunch. But the type of people that wanted to sit there and chase the gauntlet, etc., did then choose to chase the pit numbers, etc. I only went to like 80 something, and I was like, I'm good. Like, I'm not going to grind all these materials. I get what it is. But I think that's what they're choosing to do, because Season 5's main mechanic right now is it's a new rogue-like mode. I just tested it. I think it's very boring, if I'm being honest, okay? But you can see what they're trying to do. It's
Oh,
unlucky,
God.
okay? I think it's pretty boring. But, like, basically that's what they're trying to do is add these extra game modes where they blow you through the part where everyone's quitting. Then they're like, now try out this. Now try out the pit. Now try out, this rogue. They're trying to increase the length of time you guys are in the game by having, like, sort of like the check mark thing that Ghazzy was saying, like, do this and then do this and then do this. They're kind of inflating it that way.
I haven't touched the Infernal Hordes yet because I just got a couple hours in. I'm going to do it later. But I just got a little concerned when you said it was boring. I didn't like the pit either. I tried pushing it, stopped at 118, I think. But the problem was that the only thing I could do to go further was bug abuse Holy Bolt Elixir. And that's one of the things that made me hit that free fall situation 2 weeks in. But I definitely see what you're saying with introducing more game modes. So like we talked about earlier or mentioned with the idea of being distracted from doing the same thing over and over again. When you have a plethora of options of content to engage with, you don't really notice that you're doing the same thing over and over again. And I kind of like that myself, at least.
I will say that my first week of playing D4, when it first released, the preseason, was my most enjoyable time, 100%. And then every time I played it past then, I just did not enjoy it as much. And part of that can be contributed to myself playing the same build, because usually when there's like a lot of variety, you can play the same thing and there's new stuff to experience or new things to play around. But I quite literally always played Druid every single time. It was a bit of a slog the first like little bit, and then later on it wasn't that. I really thought it wasn't that bad, but then I just couldn't commit this latest season. That was about it. A little bit of self-sabotage, we could call it.
My peak was the launch of the game because it's hype and everyone's playing it and it's exciting and it's like, let's go, baby. We're going to be playing this new game. Like, we've all been waiting for Diablo. Let's play it. And then Season 4. I thought Season 4 was a lot better because I actually don't like leveling. Like, I liked the campaign, playing through the campaign. I thought the campaign was, like, pretty good the first time. I liked it. I don't want to do it again because of how fucking long it takes, and there's a lot of like quests where you're just sitting there like just fucking waiting on some goddamn snake or
those
like
quests
a camo.
absolutely suck.
Right. So like if they made me do the campaign on every new character, like I'm not making 5 characters in a season literally ever. So I was glad that we don't have to do the campaign, though that's a mixed bag. Some people feel like they do, but I didn't really like the leveling process. So for Season 4, when they shrunk down the leveling process and made the items like less stupid, where it's okay, I don't have to have this affix that's basically 16% of another stat that does something which maybe applies some stupid bucket somewhere, and I'm supposed to like figure out all these equations. Like, I'm not going to do that. I want green number go up. It's Diablo. So when they basically added green number go up with just damage percentage, oh, this one's bigger, then it was able to be a little bit more enjoyable for me with Season 4. Season 5, I really, really, really hope, because this is PTR, this isn't the season release, I really hope that this roguelite mode goes through some pretty big changes. Unless I'm missing something, basically the roguelite bonuses are like, there's 5 waves, and every wave you get a choice between 3 different bonuses. And one of the bonuses is like, enemy mobs do 25% more damage, but the events spawn 50% faster. Or enemies get 25% more damage, but one of the events pulls in mobs to make it where they go. It doesn't pull in all mobs, just like 5 random ones or something just get pulled in. So I'm kind of like, okay. But I thought what it was going to be was like, enemies get stronger, but you have like a spinning orb that rotates around shooting death lasers.
Right.
Like, it's not
Dope,
that. Yeah. It's like the enemies get 50% more HP, but now you get 3 more orbs at the end of it for reward points that you spend. Like, it's not really like super hype. It's just a room where things spawn.
And that feels like, honestly, all of the D4 seasons so far in terms of their like seasons, compared to when I see a Path of Exile season, I'm like, yo, like they have like such cool like mechanics and whole new things and all this stuff, and it's like, I could do what? And then the D4 seasons come and they're like, it's just going to give you a couple more orbs. And you're like, that's what you do with this season? Like, it feels like they don't really try and push any like boundaries with it, I guess, or try and really create something new that's wild and maybe broken but could be fun in this crazy way. It's like they're so reserved. I mean, I felt that way with a lot of Diablo 4. A lot of things felt reserved, like they were always scared to take a chance and maybe like go too far, and so they just held it back and kept it all in check, and everything is very like standard and basic. And so far that's how all the like league mechanics have looked to me. None of them I haven't seen any of them and gotten super excited. I've just thought, that seems like a small ad, but when you have Path of Exile coming out with these insane leagues every 3 months, I feel like you have to be matching that at least, or getting close in some way to generate that same sort of hype within me where I'm actually like, this looks sick, you know?
Well, I think the biggest thing is Blizzard as a whole doesn't really like to take risks, where GGG is just like, yeah, let's just try this thing and see. And, people hated it. Whoops. They're just, and they'll take the best parts of it later and try to implement it into the game. Like, oh, people did really like this part, right? So I just noticed that something GGG has always been willing to just throw out a gamble on a league and hope it pays off, right? And sometimes it pays off big, and then sometimes you got like Calandra, which
Or
I
even
liked
this
to build
last
late.
league,
It was
like
fun.
wasn't Necropolis League literally the least?
It's
It's
worse.
the actual least audience retention ever.
Yeah.
I know they kind of saved it at the end.
Yeah.
But like it was
No, it's
pretty bad.
such a mess. It has so many different problems in it, which just compounds it to be the worst league, right? Like the
Worst is
T17s.
big words.
Wasn't
I mean, you've been there through
worse?
315 and 319. I'm just saying.
I've been there
That's a
through.
good question.
No, the worst league, 100%, hands down. You cannot take it away from me. It's Talisman League. Okay, you can't at me. I played that shit. It was the most garbagest league that ever existed. The fact that talismans are still in the game is the most mind-blowing nonsense league thing to still be in the game. I don't care that I can get quant on my necklace, all right? I don't want this garbage to drop on the ground anymore.
Did you use a talisman in Talisman League? I know that's a really random question.
Oh, yeah, I did at the time.
I like Talisman, but I liked it back then. I don't care for it now, if that makes sense. Like back then it fit.
Wait,
I logged into my character.
the league itself?
I don't really remember the league. Didn't we? How do we? Okay, maybe not the league. Maybe I just liked the talismans. I forgot. You had to like 5-1 them constantly or something.
Yeah, so
really dumb. Okay, not
4
that
ranks
part.
of talismans, 4 ranks of talismans, 5 T1s to make 1 T2, 5 T2s make T3, 5
Okay, yeah,
make
no, I don't
1
think
T4.
so.
Not only that, to get Rigwald, you had to spawn the talisman little circle didn't always spawn in your map, so we always used to just go and redo ledge until it came up in a ledge. It was so nonsense. I have a deep hatred for talisman.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm lucky I wasn't around for that one.
Oh, there's a lot of disliked leagues.
Well, I mean,
a lot of
Harvest.
failures, but a lot of good success leagues as well. Like,
A lot of
that really hit the spots.
Yeah.
But
here's
I mean,
a random one. Rampage. You just run fast, bro.
but that
was like one of the
10 years
first
ago.
leagues, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
It
But
was.
that's
They were just
actually kind of funny,
trying
though.
it, you
Like,
know?
that's when they were building this idea and started bulking up the content.
Exactly.
They were in the starting pits, you know.
Yeah.
And Diablo 4 has had, many years of experience with Diablo 3, and a much bigger company behind it. But like, I've talked about this before, and what I usually say is that it would be fun to see them say, "Hey, we're gonna invest a lot of money and a lot of time and dev time in this, and make do these things and make it bigger and better." But that's going to be a lot of investment. So the problem with a company of that size is that if they were to pitch that to say, "We're going to do this," we're going to see a lot of investment, a lot of money lost for the next 2 quarters, but the third quarter or fourth quarter, it's going to explode. The shareholders would literally sue them. So it will never happen.
Yeah.
It would literally be the
Short-term
case.
gains.
So
like, no,
because
we need
it's more important what the dollar value of the company is for the next quarter than it is for on the fourth quarter. And that's kind of putting them in this situation where they have to cater to the 99% player base because that's where the players are. And that's also really funny because a lot of people say, oh, Diablo 4 is dead and whatnot. But, they have more concurrent players playing, not Steam, of course. It's a very small fraction on the last week of a season than Path of Exile or any other RPG that we play has on their launch day because of
Yep.
the casual players. There's
So many casual
people
players,
playing.
man.
I mean, D4, you log in, you're ready to go blast. D4 or PoE, you're a casual player. You come back from work, you log in, you open up a map, you get one shot. It says resurrect. So, like from that, perspective, it feels good about them. They're smashing through hordes of monsters. They don't need a Wikipedia. They're not following a path of building. They're just, they're just smashing mobs, right? And at the end of the day, most people are playing ARPGs to kill mob, number go up. I feel better about myself and move on.
No.
And that's why I said I think Diablo 4 is not a bad game, but I think it's just not my game.
It's marketed differently.
Because your
It's
game
marketed
is Llama
to the other
RPG.
My
Wish
game's
list-
Llama
Yeah.
RPG.
Get it on Steam.
That's right. That's right. Wish list now.
Now
Link
available.
in chat. Description.
Very cool.
All right,
So
well,
the PTR, sorry, go ahead.
now go on, Ghazzy.
No, the PTR so far just launched today. It's gonna be fun to see, go through the feeling of season 5 from in the coming days and see how it feels. I want to try out the Infernal Horde, see if I agree with you there, and then obviously provide feedback, and we'll see what the end result is with the changes coming in when all things come to an end, right? And the release is actually coming around the corner. It's gonna be fun to see what the actual end result will be because it's PTR. It's there for a reason. And hopefully that'll be providing them enough feedback and they have enough time to adjust things accordingly so that the game can cater to not just the 99% player base, but also I guess streamers, but like the blasters, if you. That's kind of what I want, the balance between the two.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps up all the topics that we have here. So to close it out, let's do this. I want to ask all of you guys your favorite game of all time, and it cannot be Path of Exile, Diablo 2. It can't be MrLlama RPG. You got to have your favorite game of all time, and I will start, and I won't even do RuneScape because that's the one I always pull out. All right, I'm going to say Subnautica for this one because for me, if I had to recommend one game to somebody to play, I actually think it would be Subnautica because I think it's the safest pick for anyone. Like no matter what game they like to probably enjoy it. So I'd start with Subnautica. Let's go to Ghazzy, then Pox, then Vel, then MrLlama.
Wow. Jesus.
On the spot.
On the spot. I mean, I got 3 games in mind.
Did you just pick
I'm
WoW?
not
Is that what I heard? No.
Yeah. Well, that would be one, but it's more like nostalgic. Like it was fun at the time, so I wouldn't say the greatest game of all time. And I can't say that with Dota. The same thing there. So I guess I will have to land on Tibia.
Tibia. Oh, that's
which came out half a year before RuneScape. So
that's a
been
throwback.
around for a little longer.
Old school. I mean, I can't say D2, which is the obvious.
Yep.
I feel like I can't say StarCraft because that's also in my name. So I'm going to toss that. I'm going to go with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I absolutely just fell in love with that game, even more so than the newer one. Tears of the Kingdom was like, I struggled. I didn't like as much the like mechanics with the control, whatever the stuff where you're like putting the things together. It was like too tedious. Yeah, it was too tedious, all the building. I was like, I don't want to build all this stuff. But Breath of the Wild was just, I thought it was the best open world game that I've played in a long time like that, and it just fit perfectly. I just love it. I just think it's a game I want to go 100% one day and just run around like a madman. Fantastic.
Vel?
God, it could be so many games, but I'm just gonna go with my number one. It's Morrowind. Morrowind's the greatest game ever made.
Fantastic game.
It's a good one.
It I've never in my life experienced something so open and so freeing. I played 400 hours and I didn't even start the first quest because the first quest was like you start a pilgrimage and you go into the mountains. So you want to go off, I think they said east or something like that, and look for these 2 mountains. That was 500 pages ago in my journal. I don't know where east is, right? Like where was, I don't know. It was just so, the level of exploration and like, I don't know if anybody's played it. One of the first things you do is like some woman tells you, "Oh, I got a rat in my pillow room. Can you kill it?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure, I'll kill it." Hardest rat in the history of rats. Okay, that rat will kill you. Apparently, you don't know how to swing a sword at the beginning, so it's just like it's so many things. It's so fun. I love it. I love it.
Good choice there. Oh,
Fox,
oh,
you're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was lagging before.
Okay.
So I'd say for me, my choice would be Warcraft 3 custom games, but that's not like a
Old school
specific
Dota.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say Donkey Kong Country 2. Favorite soundtrack of any game, and just super nostalgic
Yes.
for me.
Bangers.
I like how
Absolutely.
You a
everyone
Diddy
agrees
and
that we're
Dixie
like just
player.
showing our age to everyone.
I'm a Diddy Kong.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dixie's got the hair. she's got the hair, the easy travel.
No, I don't know.
That's crazy.
The water level sound in Donkey Kong Country,
Phenomenal.
very relaxing.
That's literally
Oh.
like my number one YouTube search is like DKC space OST space water. Enter.
For me, it's actually, you know, the like bramble patch with the bees in that
Yes.
one. Yeah, that's the music I listen to on a lot when I get ready and stuff. Is that bramble
When it
patch
comes
with
to
the bee? It's so
music,
good.
The
like
bees.
music wise, all I think about is like Chrono
Mhm.
Trigger and Final Fantasy.
Final
Oh,
Fantasy
yeah.
VII soundtrack's very good.
Never played
Just
that.
Like
play that
all
shit
of
on the
them.
piano.
Never played?
Never played the Final Fantasy VII.
Really?
People
I've
are
never
always
played
like,
Final Fantasies either.
really?
I'm with you.
Okay, so
What?
at least there's
Ev-
someone else out here.
Everybody's always like, "How have you not played any of them?"
Yeah,
I'm
so
like,
you get
There's
it
like
too.
too many that I'm like overwhelmed. There's so many, and everybody's like, "Start with 10." No, start with 7. No, you have to
No,
start.
no. You start with
No,
1
forget
and you
that.
stop at X2.
Start with
Ew.
1, and then
No,
you
you
skip
don't
2
start
and
with
3,
1.
and then you. Yeah.
The thing is, Square
it's-
Enix, they shown that they would rather make movies than games, and this is becoming
Mhm.
more and more pressing. So after the follow up to 10, so X2, after that it's more movies than games. So play 1 up
Okay.
to that point.
Okay.
I have a theory.
It's
Oh shit.
Oh,
oh,
show me that again.
what
I
is
was,
it?
I was gonna say I have a theory from
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was a kid, all my games I played a lot have a crack. You see this crack right here?
Oh, yeah, we all have.
I have a
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a theory that all my really good games, well, you know, that have a case, have a crack on them because I'd get so excited I'd run home from school or like run back from wherever and I'd step on the case as I'm going, you know, right to the PlayStation to play it. So that's just how it is for me.
Every case, we all have that crazy
Oh,
case with the crack down it.
Yeah.
I'm curious,
Everyone.
is that the new CD or is it the 7 CD pack?
This is the triple C. This is a very old school one. So it has
This
like
old.
yeah, it has
Yeah,
like
all the
this
CDs.
one.
All
It's
the
the
and
greatest hit.
yeah. The triple pack.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then you got the other one. This right
Yeah.
here. This is that's the
Mhm.
old school one.
We all
Oh, yeah.
we all have those old. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
It's beautiful. Fuck,
Didn't
you
Diablo
got so
2,
many. You got the Super Nintendo, all this.
I have a wall of my Super Nintendo and my Sega games like right behind me. So
Hell yeah, that's
Nice.
awesome.
I love old
Didn't
school
Diablo
consoles.
2 have a lot of CDs
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, you had the install disc, the
Yeah.
cinematics disc, and then the play
Cinematics
disc.
disc. Oh.
And then your LOD as well. And whenever you went to install, you'd have and keep be like, pull out this disc. Please put this disc in.
Oh,
Pull
please
this disc out.
insert
Please
disc
put this.
two.
You had to keep swapping the disc as you were installing. God,
Gotta
it was so
hope it
annoying.
doesn't like corrupt or something. You have to do the whole
Right,
thing
I'm
all over
like,
again.
Jesus.
Remember doing that for Star
Such
Wars
an annoying
Galaxies,
process.
and it had like 18
Oh,
fucking
so
discs or
good.
something. It's like, oh my god.
I remember having 2 memory sticks in the PlayStation to save the game on both sticks in case one would get corrupt.
Oh, that's
Wow.
900 IQ.
I never
had a
did that.
corrupted memory card.
Dang, mine never
Ooh.
corrupted though. But wow, that's big.
Yeah.
That's big brain.
I had one corrupted once, and I started doing that after. I lost like 300 hours of Final Fantasy 7. I was playing like 2-3 a.m. school day. I hear this thunderous sound of stomps coming from the bedroom next door. It's my my mother's partner, my stepdad. He slams open the door. He's fucking naked, by the way. I'm trying to save. I've been running to the save point, and he just looks at me dead in the eye, like my soul just died. And he clicks the power button.
No!
Oh,
As you're
No.
saving,
For a
he
week.
clicks it. Oh,
I had a very similar experience. If I was playing Phantasy Star Online on the GameCube in a motorhome. We were in a motorhome, like kind of traveling some states, and it was one of these old beater motorhomes with like the CRTV. So I had the GameCube plugged into the one on the front, and we pulled up to the gas station. My dad's like, "I gotta turn off the thing. We have an alternator problem." I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle of saving. Just give me like 5 seconds, dude. Like it's literally doing the spinning beach ball. You know, I need 5 seconds here. And he just like clunk turns it right off, and it like straight up ruined my Final Fantasy Star off of GameCube. So it's like, all right, well,
Oh,
there goes that
parents
week.
never understood. I
Actually have
hated it.
parents
They
that
never
don't.
understood needing to save the game really fast. Like,
Yeah.
just give me a minute. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Actually, let me check mine. You guys continue.
All right. Where you
Trip
guys
down
think Pox is
nostalgia.
going? Is he going down nostalgia lane to grab another like cover of a video
Yeah,
game?
he's
here?
gonna go grab
Oh,
all.
big
He's gonna
time.
come out
He's
with
gonna
those
come back with
games. Yeah, like
all-
the floppy
yeah.
disk where you had to use like 10 of them to install a game.
I did used to have these big bricks just full of floppy disks back in the day. And some of them weren't even labeled, and it's like, I don't know what this does, but
Is it a
Oh,
floppy
yeah.
disk box?
No, so this one's kind of fucked up because I got it later, but this is what DM played. I'm pretty sure Fantasy
That's
Star Online.
literally
1.8.
Oh, I
exactly
played that.
what-
Wow.
But I got scammed because I went to rebuy this, and they gave me disc number
Why
3,
you got
which is a
fucked?
card game. It's not, and when I was a kid, I didn't know that.
Wow.
So I was like, "What do you mean?" I thought you like walk around and you hit stuff. No, it's like a
I
card
loved
version.
the third one.
Well,
That
I
was
was a
so
kid
fun.
and I wanted to play the version that I bought. You know, like,
Yeah,
it's very
yeah,
different.
yeah,
Of course,
that's fair.
of
I
course.
mean, understandable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I also, man, I forgot all the old classics like Gauntlet, Dark Legends, and
No
Oh,
shit,
I mean,
dude.
that's
Oh,
just
man.
Jesus. Gauntlet Legends.
Dark Legacy, not
was-
Legend. Why do I think Legend?
Dark Legacy, yeah.
Legacy, yeah.
Gauntlet Legends,
Yeah.
Dark Legacy. So
Yeah.
freaking sick. What a game.
That got
Played
me
first in
like
the arcade.
PlayStation. That got me thinking of Titan Quest. I played that on
Oh, Titan
PlayStation
Quest.
2, I believe. And the
I didn't even
Titan
know it was
coming
Quest,
out again.
it's coming
They're
out.
doing
Yeah,
another
they're
one.
it's
they're
coming a new one.
remastering it, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
me
should-
too.
Or are they
That
are
was,
they
like,
doing
10
Titan
years
Quest
ago.
2? Is it like a is it a
It's a
new
new
one?
Titan
I
Quest
thought-
2.
Yeah, it's a new
I think
It's a
it's a
new
new
one,
one.
right? Yeah.
It's a new
yeah,
one,
that's right.
yeah. So I played
That's-
Titan Quest on the PlayStation, but that was 15 years ago. So I'm super excited for that. So, back on the ARPG trend, but yeah, it's going to
Very
be fun
fun
to see
game.
Titan Quest. Yeah. Good
Gauntlet
trip
also
down that
had
nostalgia.
that was the arcade game too, right? You could play like
That was the
Gauntlet.
one where you
Gauntlet
heard-
Legends was the one you go to the barcade and
Yeah.
That's the one where you hear Blue Wizard needs
Yeah.
Yeah,
food
yeah.
badly.
I love
It's
it.
that one.
love that. Yeah, and there's all sorts of stuff with it. But yeah, it's the one you play in the arcade, but also they have it on N64, on PlayStation, on
GameCube
whatever,
and
right?
funny story on
GameCube.
PlayStation 2, if you get a power up, you have to use it. On GameCube, because there's more controls on the controller, you could save it and go back to your default attack. Anyway,
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that as a kid. I had no idea. I was like, why does it keep using the hammer right away?
Yeah.
Hang on to
I'm
that
pretty sure the
knowledge.
arcade it just uses it immediately too.
One day you're gonna win at some random trivia game. Is gonna come up in a
100%.
bar someday, and they're gonna
Yeah.
be like, ask that exact question. They'll come in.
100%, I'm ready.
It's always good.
All right, boys. Well,
Um,
I guess that's probably about time. So I won't take all your day here. So we've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes. So thanks all coming to the podcast. We'll have a link down below in Ghazzy's video YouTube description for a link to everyone's channel, as well as to Llama RPG Farm to Fable. Correct?
Nice.
I got the
Yes.
whole. All right, I did it.
Nailed it.
I'll check my PayPal.
Nice.
All right. Any last closing
50.
comments? Anyone got anything to say at the end here? Last things you want to talk about or anything before we close it on that? Last
D4
chance.
bad, D4 dog shit. Sorry.
Oh no.
I want to say D4 mid good. Between D4
Sorry.
mid and good.
It's
D4
probably
not my
good.
game.
I got a counterweight here.
D4
All right.
mid.
Sorry.
We have a good,
Thanks,
we have
everybody.
a dog shit, and we have a mid. So we got all the field covered here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out, everybody. And yeah. See you guys later.
Bye.